Hey, this is Arsenette from Family Recon with episode... I think we're in 2? of Animation
2.
Hangout. Yeah. I'm here with William and Don for another discussion and another conversation on animation, anime, and everything in between that has to do with cartoons and stuff like that. And a more continuation on watching Shirobako and Osomatsu San. So, have you guys reintroduce yourself? Don?
I'm Don. I'm Arsenette's husband. And I'm an old guy.
William?
Hi, my name is William. I am not Arsenette's husband, and I am a semi-decently aged guy.
That's funny. So anyway, what you guys have been up to since the last podcast? Any stuff that you're watching on the current season? I've been eyeballing stuff, but I think I'm gonna marathon to go through, and the only one that I have of interest is Mega's Bride?
Yeah, Ancient Magus's Bride. That's a good one.
Oh, that one, and sorry, more importantly, the Recovery of a MMO.
Yeah, Recovery of an MMO Junkie is the English title that you'll find on Verve or Crunchyroll or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's how it translates properly in Japanese, because the translation that they put up on their end cards is something more along the lines of life in the wonderful virtual world, or the merits of life in a wonderful virtual world.
Yeah.
It's a comedy. It's a good show. I'm enjoying it so far. It's funny. We're only about 3 episodes in, so we'll see if it manages to hold up. But Ancient Magus's Bride, I'm really enjoying a great deal. It's a good show so far. I've
only seen a few minutes of it because Crunchyroll has or had, I'm not sure if it's expired by the time this comes out, a contest to go to Japan, and that included when you sign in with your Crunchyroll account, and free accounts do work, they have you basically fill out a passbook. There are 8 anime that are being highlighted, and both of those are in the 8. I ended up watching it for like 10 minutes, and then it actually did update that I saw it. Wink, wink. I don't know if it's because I just have technically a premium account because I pay for Verve, but I have the Crunchyroll thing connected, so the whole thing makes it look like it's all premium. And so I was forced to watch at least 10 minutes of each of those 8 episodes, and a couple of them I kind of looked away because I'm not into like scary stuff, and some of them were scary stuff, and I didn't want to see the scary stuff. So I just kind of had that on, and then those are the only 2 that actually caught my attention.
Well, you saw 30 Seconds of Black Clover, which is just like watching the whole 30 minutes.
So, William, anything on this side outside of Mr. Osomatsu?
All right. Well, I mean, first off, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have breaking news that I want to share.
Okay, what's the breaking news?
I just got an email saying my copy of Super Mario Odyssey have shipped.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Yay! We were just talking about that in the little gaming thing, which I believe I put before this episode. That's also on my channel. So
yeah, so I'm getting the game. All right.
Yay!
So are we talking strictly anime at the moment?
No, any animation stuff. Yeah.
All right, good. So I went to Italy recently.
Yes, please tell us. You were there for a week, right? No.
10 days. 10 days.
And how many cities in 10 days?
13.
Oh, good lord.
Actually, no. Actually, I have a correction. We had time to fit in a 14th city, so 14 in 10 days.
Did you get whiplash from going so quickly through the country?
No, actually, it was fine. We went to went to Rome, went to Venice, went to Florence, went to Milan, and Torrin and a bunch of other places. It was nice. It was nice. I watched Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Kai. I don't know which one it was.
In Italian?
I watched in Italian. Yeah. I watched Goku battle Nappa in Italian. That was interesting.
Can you understand any of it?
No, I've completely. Here's the thing. I took Italian in high school. I wasn't good at it. It was my worst subject in all of high school, and I don't remember like any of it. And so the entire like vacation, like at the beginning of the vacation, I'm like going to my family like, look, all right, I know what you're all thinking. You're all going to joke about this at my expense. Like, let's just get it out of our system.
Does the rest of your family know?
No.
Okay.
No, none of them took Italian, but you know, I took Italian, so I'm expected to know, but I don't. I have a hard enough time with English sometimes. Just
you didn't use the Peter Griffin method of speaking Italian, did you?
No, I did not say bobbity.
Yeah, bobbity. God.
The fact that you knew that reference.
That joke was made a few times during the trip.
Yeah. That was hysterical.
Yeah.
Oh God! This is the worst part. Is I was born and raised in Philadelphia, so you could just imagine all of the South Philly jokes, the South Philly Italians. I've heard every variation of that. Oh my God! So,
as far as what Italy. Yeah, no, Italy it was very nice. Good weather overall. That time of year, we kind of like.
You lucked out.
Oh yeah. We went at like a perfect time. I drank more wine that span of time than my entire life. And I'm never drinking wine again.
Do you remember all 14 cities?
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. There was some times where like the wine had like very little effect on me. And then there was some times where I'm like, okay, I need to like stop. I really need to stop.
Do you know which ones whacked you out?
Yeah, the last one. No, the last big dinner we had was we saw a lot of cool things. Saw some wineries. Saw some glass blowing in Venice. Venice is a very, very nice city. Very nice city. Bought some Italian clothing, including some genuine Italian leather belt from Florence.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah. They have Kinder eggs in Italy. You know, the ones that we aren't allowed to be sold in America.
I saw Kinder eggs in the U.S. Do they not have the?
They're different.
Okay.
They're different. This one, the ones in Europe actually have the toy in the candy.
Yeah. Which
is not what happens in the U.S. version. So I have the illegal version. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell.
You smuggled in the country. You got contraband.
Technically, I guess.
You're not planning to sell it, so. And you're not a kid, so if you choke on it, you're not going to tell anybody.
No one's gonna know. As the plane ride, you know, it's like 8 or 9 hours depending on which direction you're going.
So what did you see?
So I only watched 2 movies total, both animated. Going to Italy, I watched Despicable Me 3.
Okay.
I really liked the first Despicable Me. Despicable Me. Number 2 was good. Not as good, but it was good. I haven't seen Minions. Despicable Me 3 is, Yeah. It has its moments, but it's one of those.
I've only seen the first.
This is. Yeah, well, that's the best one. Okay. Despicable Me 3 is kind of weird in that, like, you know, who's the most popular character in Despicable Me?
Minions.
The Minions. Who has the least present in this plot?
Minions.
They are so separate from the plot. I was shocked in how little like what happened to them mattered.
Should have been a direct-to-video type thing?
This probably should have been a direct-to-video. Yeah. I will say this: I like the best part of the entire movie was the villain. who I forget what his real name was. He's a former child star who played a villain named Max Brat, I believe. Evil Brat, I should say. I actually think his real name is back. But like he's a guy who's like stuck in the 80s. So, he has a big mullet despite the fact he's balding. He robs banks while listening to Bad by Michael Jackson. But yeah. But the entire time I'm listening to this guy and I'm just like, why does he sound so familiar? And it turns out he's voiced by Trey Parker.
Oh.
Wow.
The co-creator of South Park. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, he totally sounds like Randy. So he was good in it, but like, it's just kind of
the story itself just fall apart.
It's very inconsequential.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's disappointing. And then coming home
on the way back,
when I wasn't listening to on the way back, when I wasn't listening to podcasts or playing 3DS, I watched Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. So I grew up with Captain Underpants because that's when the book started coming out when I was a kid, and so I really wanted to see like what's this version of it. And I'm
not familiar with that at all.
So Captain Underpants is the story about two boys who hang out. They love to make comics, but their principal Crump, I believe, he's like the worst. The kids' names, by the way, are George and Harold, and basically they get caught doing a prank because they get ratted out by the teacher's pet character, and they realize they're basically in trouble, and so in a last minute attempt to save themselves, they use a hypno ring to hypnotize their teacher, and it works. Their principal, and they decide they want to turn their principal into Captain Underpants, who is their original comic book character that they made, their superhero. And Captain Underpants is basically a guy with a cape who runs around in tighty whities.
Yeah, I see what's it called?
Wiki.
Yeah.
Poster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically it's like it's like Captain Underpants is now running around the city, and George and Harold are kind of like, okay, we have to like fix this before he hurts someone. And also there is a villain who appears just like in the first book, whose name is Professor Poopy Pants, and he wants to take over the world, or more specifically, he wants to eliminate the ability to laugh because he's tired of people laughing at his name.
Huh.
And it turns into it's basically the movie, much like the books, is about children's imaginations and how over the top things can get, because the movie goes very over the top, but that's like by design, because it's called Captain Underpants,
right?
And honestly, like, as someone who grew up with Captain Underpants, I think they did a good job. Obviously there's a few things they changed from the books to the movie, but that's expected. I think they handled their interpretation quite well, and I enjoyed it. Now maybe you wouldn't like it as much because you have no familiarity with Captain Underpants.
Right.
But I liked it. And what I really appreciate is that they were able to incorporate the one section of Captain Underpants that I thought they wouldn't be able to incorporate. So in the books, all the books have this thing called the Flipporama, which it's literally 2 pages that have illustrations on them, and you flip them back and forth, and it creates a little animation sequence, usually during the action scenes of the story. And as a kid, that's like, oh wow, that's really cool because it's animation in a book.
Right.
Like, that's awesome. And they actually found a way to incorporate it in the movie that was cool, and I appreciate it. And so yeah, it was a fun movie.
Cool. I mean, it actually, I'm looking at how well it did domestically. Actually, it didn't do that badly.
Yeah. Also, just in general, the art direction. I really like the art direction. They did good with that.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, thumbs up for me.
Wow, 87% in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good movie for kids.
Yeah.
Like if you have a kid,
Well,
or you grew up with
even
Captain
just
Underpants,
looking at the
you like it.
poster, it's sort of like you know what you're getting into, and if you like this
Yeah.
character, there we go. As opposed
yeah, I
to,
mean, it's called Captain Underpants.
Exactly.
Like, what are you expecting?
So that's cool. Now I remember when we went to Japan, I saw Orange, Bakuman, on the second trip, and on the first trip was like on the way to was what was the weird Galaxy Turnpike or something like that. Really weird movie that was also Japanese, and I forget the other thing that I saw. But yeah, when you're stuck in an airplane that long, so you actually brought your 3DS and not your Switch?
Yeah, because I was afraid of doing something bad to my Switch.
True. Well, considering that with the amount of traveling that you were doing, I don't blame you.
Yeah, because we were traveling between cities almost every day. So.
Did you sleep in actual beds or did you sleep on the bus?
No, we slept. We had a hotel room every single night.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Actually, it is worth mentioning some of the hotel rooms you still used actual keys instead of the electronic ones.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
It's still an
They had
old country.
And this was an old hotel that had the key. Yeah, no, I mean...
Yeah, they have some buildings that are older
great.
than the entire United States, okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. The Coliseum. Like, I mean, we went to the Coliseum. We had
What,
that's older
2,000
than
years
the United
old,
States. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, just a quick heads up. If you go to Italy, expect to have to pay to use a bathroom. So just keep that in mind.
Really?
Yeah, in most stores, it's either you pay to use the bathroom or you have to buy something in order to use the bathroom.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually, we found out the backstory behind that. So I'll explain it very quickly. So when they were building the Coliseum, they needed to collect more money, and I believe this was a Caesar at the time. I could be completely wrong in that statement. But basically, like, all right, how can we raise more money? Because we don't want to raise taxes, because we already tax them too much.
Right.
And they were like, all right, what's something that everyone does? We'll charge them to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that's how that started, and it's still a thing, apparently.
Yeah, at the same time, it also controls lots of things.
Yeah, well, that's the story. So, yeah, don't be surprised you have to pay 50 cents, or if you're in Venice, 1.5 euros.
Yeah.
It's like
God.
$3.
No,
Yeah.
the euro has...
No, actually, it's not that
No,
bad.
the euro's
yeah.
dropped, has it?
Everything is
Okay.
dropped.
Yeah, euros dropped, yeah.
Yeah.
You thank Brexit for that.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Which I appreciate because it benefits me. but-
Yeah.
absolutely. Hey, it was nice when we went to Japan and we were getting like 50 cents on the dollar just about.
No,
Yeah.
we were...
Somewhere between 30 and 50 cents
Oh,
plus.
no. Oh, plus. Yeah. Because at the time, the exchange rate was 139. So, for like, a US dollar would give us the equivalent of $1.39 of yen, which was crazy. Now I think it's the other way around, where $1 US would give us like 90 something.
I don't know at the moment.
Oh no, trust us, the yen is like going through the roof.
Although that's, and William, I know you found this out as well. Important travel tip for those of you traveling internationally. It's really, really nice when your money goes really far in a foreign country.
Mhm.
Don't change it all at once.
Yeah.
No,
Because when you come home, you're going to take a bath.
Yeah.
Because the
I still
currency
have-
values generally don't shift that quickly. And if they do in the country you're in, you need to be at a run when you hit the airport.
I still have some money left in yen, and I remember talking to everybody over there going, well, our hope obviously is to see you again. I'm thinking, not anytime soon. I said, keep it anyway. Like, okay, because even just on exchanging, there's always a charge to exchange that stuff anyway.
yeah.
So I still have some, so
But-
I show it to people going, yeah, this is what the bills look like.
By the way, $1 US is worth 114 yen. I just looked up.
14.
Okay, so
Okay,
we're
so
still...
so it
114.
is still on the positive end for us, but
Just
it
not
dropped
where it
almost
was.
30 cents.
Yeah, actually it dropped 15 cents compared to when we were there, but I don't
No,
know what the peak was.
139.
25 cents. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Anyway,
Doesn't really matter.
It's still
but
on the
for-
positive. I thought it was the other way around because at one point, it was during the election.
Yeah, but for that, the point of it is anybody traveling, planning to go to Japan, planning to go to Europe, just be aware that you don't want to change all your money at once. For goodness sakes, don't do it at the airport.
That's exactly you. Never ever exchange money in any airport. It doesn't matter which one it is because they got you. Do your research beforehand. Figure out if it makes sense to do it before you get there or after you get there. But never, ever there. Usually either banks or even, at least for Japan, even freaking convenience stores.
Oh, that is a note specifically for Japan. And William, you can speak to Europe because I've never been. But in Japan, Japan is a cash society.
Yes.
Here in America and in
Credit
some
card.
parts of Europe, plastic is what we do. We use it and then we just pay the bill. Even if you're just using like your bank's Mac card or whatnot, or debit card, I guess is what we call them these days.
Yeah, ATM.
But Japan is cash, and it is not uncommon for people to walk around with
$500-$600 bucks.
$500, $1,000 in their pocket on a regular basis. Because if you want to do, especially once you get outside of the major cities, if you're outside of Tokyo or Kyoto or
Look for 7-Eleven.
yeah, I mean, not even so much that, but if you're just in some restaurant somewhere, don't whip out your credit card because chances are it's not going to work.
Yep.
They want cash. So,
Like they're not built for that. Like they don't even have card readers.
yeah. I would say in Italy, I would say more places took credit than not in our experience. But obviously we were more North Italy. Who knows? Maybe South is different, or But yeah, I would say in our experience, I paid in credit for everything that I bought. But it's one of those things where it's like my parents carried the cash, so if I needed cash, I just go to them and be like, hey, I'll pay you back. But yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is that I've been playing catch up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Because the series finale is next month. And
Wait, they had a new season?
The show's ending.
Wow.
Like straight up next month. And then they're like making a new Ninja Turtle series like next year at some point.
Okay. Just the edgy emo version?
No, it's actually going it's actually going the opposite direction. It's being
goofy and
I think it's being more cute. To my understanding.
It's Moe.
no.
Moe Turtles.
No, let's not go that far.
Teenage
the
Moe
way-
Ninja Turtles.
So like I've really enjoyed Nickelodeon's version of the Ninja Turtles as someone who likes the Ninja Turtles. But the way that they've handled actually showing it has been so weird, because it's like first it was on Saturday mornings, then it was on Friday nights, then for a good portion it was on Sunday morning for some reason, and now most recently they moved it to the Nicktoons network. And normally that wouldn't be a big deal because I get Nicktoons network as well. The problem is Ninja Turtles is a widescreen 16:9 show, but Nicktoons only broadcast in a 4:3 ratio.
So you got the pan
So-
and scan thing, or they just chop off the sides?
They chop off the sides.
Oh, good lord.
And it's frustrating because it's like,
Oh,
I
it's
could
for
see
kids
your
anyway,
stuff-
so they don't care.
yeah, it's so weird because every time a Nickelodeon executive talks about Ninja Turtles, they talk about how well it does with the merchandising and all that stuff that matters to them, the money.
Yeah.
But yet when it comes to the actual show, it's like they don't care.
And they probably don't.
It's so weird. I will say this, though. I do appreciate that the creators very clearly get to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they actually have gotten away with a lot in terms of what you can show in a children's show when it comes to violence.
Yeah.
At least on an American network. Because, like, there are characters who straight up die in this show. But this season 5 has been kind of weird in that the story ended with season 4, and season 5 has been like a giant epilogue.
Really?
It's been a bunch, because it's actually, this season's been called Tales of the Ninja Turtles, and it's been a series of short stories. Like maybe they take place over like 2 or 3 episodes, but then like that's it. Or maybe just like single story episodes. And there's only 3 episodes left, and I looked up the plot, and it's like they're tying up the last loose end, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting approach. I wouldn't be surprised if the creators were like, all right, we got signed for a 5th season, but we only had 4 seasons worth of story, so they found this nice workaround where they don't compromise their original vision, but they instead improve upon it.
Okay.
So I'm very appreciative of what they did with the Ninja Turtles. I think they've done a good job overall. But yeah, it's gonna be weird that like I'm gonna watch this show all the way through as it's airing. It's the first Ninja Turtle series where I could say I did that.
At least you can say that with Dragon Ball right now.
Yeah. So anyway, the only other show I watched was Mr. Osomatsu, season 2. They have not lost a beat.
Okay.
They do not hold back, and
we'll discuss that when we get to that part.
Yeah. All I'll say is that episode 1 of season 2 is essentially them trying to do episode 1 of season 1 again, but in a way that makes sense for season 2 and in a way that can't get them in trouble this time around.
Okay.
It's very much making fun of the industry again, but just not
in a very
making
legally binding way.
Yeah, just not legally making fun of specific shows, but just ideas of the anime industry in general. And I appreciate what they did. Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So, since the last podcast, there were a couple of things. We had a large Godzilla conversation that ended up coming out of nowhere. But they did the trailer for Godzilla Planet of the Monsters. Have you seen any of this?
No, I'm completely out of the loop when it comes to Godzilla news.
Okay, well, go ahead and take a second to see it. I'll load it up and I'll take all this stuff out for the podcast. I want you at least to be able to see it. Let me open it up. So
I mean, I got it open here.
Yeah, I'm just doing this and then Don can see it as well because I think he saw it once. So go ahead and play it.
Oh, this is the anime series.
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is the Netflix exclusive one, right?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
1 of 3.
Okay. Oh, that's right, yeah. Has there ever been a Godzilla anime before?
An anime? No, a cartoon.
Yeah,
yes.
there was a cartoon.
Yeah. I'm well aware of the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla and Godzuki cartoon. I'm just not sure. So this is using like the Knights of Sidonia.
Yep.
Correct. It's
arts.
full 3D.
Is this Polygon?
I think it is Polygon. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like a. So is this okay? Oh, it's called Monster Planet, so that makes sense.
I'll explain it in a second.
Okay.
I'm still.
Ooh, that's a cool.
You're up to the dropping part.
That's a cool looking Godzilla.
Yeah.
Right, I'm done. That's a cool looking Godzilla.
Okay.
So,
the deal with this is that after the events of the 2017 or 2016 Godzilla,
Shin
Godzilla, thank you, or Resurgence if you're dealing with the Funimation dub, which was good by the way. So humanity figures out a few years later that they basically are not going to be able to stop Godzilla. He's mutating too quickly. All of his mutations are beneficial, making him even stronger. I mean, he's effectively unkillable from everything they've tried to do. So they try to basically pull a Mass Effect Andromeda. Not heading for another galaxy, but they found a planet called Tau Ceti E. So they go to this planet. Planet looks like it has Earth-like conditions. They're traveling near the speed of light, I believe, and it's a 20-year journey. So, if Einstein's to be quoted, you can imagine how many years have now passed on Earth just from a one-way trip. So they make the trip, and they get there, and they find out that the planet is uninhabitable, that it is just not what they thought it was, and they have to turn around and come back. So they end up coming back, and it's something like 20,000 years later. Mm-hmm. And what has happened is Godzilla has reproduced, and he's the top of the food chain.
He's
and
basically
you've got
created his
all
own
these,
ecosystem.
yeah, you've got all of these kaiju running around that just come from his offspring. And one of the interesting things about Shin Godzilla is initially they were going to have him basically bud, almost like a form of mitosis, to reproduce. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the themes that's kind of hidden in there a little bit.
Oh, it's not hidden. It's the last scene in the freaking movie.
The last scene in the movie was the tail with the humanoid
Godzilla-like
monsters coming off it. They did talk about it a little bit online. And that has yet to be seen what's going to happen with that. But so they come back 20,000 years later. There is no more humanity. They're pretty much it, at least from what we know now. And it's now, how do we deal with Godzilla and all these kaiju, that are just as powerful as he is or close to it. And that's the basis of this second movie in the series.
And yes, it is Polygon.
It is Polygon. It looks like Polygon.
So
that's
Polygon
why I thought.
is the one that did
Knights of Sidonia. They did
the most recent thing. What was it called? Castlevania.
They did Castlevania.
They did Castlevania.
Yeah, I guess they did.
Yes, they did Castlevania. Positive they did Castlevania, which is like 4 episodes on Netflix, and then they're gonna do a full season now.
That was good stuff. Not for the squeamish.
No.
No. Definitely don't watch the new Castlevania if you have a weak stomach.
Yeah, so I was at first like, I don't want an anime of Godzilla, and then I saw the trailer and going, well, I guess I do want an anime of Godzilla. So the person that co-directed it is Kobun Shizuno and Hiroyuki Seshita. The screenplay is Gen Urobuchi, who also wrote Madoka. You've seen Madoka? Madoka, Magica, whatever. Puella, Magica. Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica. Yeah, have you seen that?
Not yet.
Oh, that's a list we're gonna have to put you through.
Okay.
No, trust me. I think you would actually enjoy considering the reason why you like panty and stocking and stuff like that. So.
Okay. That's the first time.
It's a twist.
The first
in the
time
genre.
I've heard. I mean, I know it's a twist in the genre, but that's the first time I've heard the two compared.
It's a genre deconstruction.
Yeah,
like
and
magical girl shows get a oh hell no out of me.
Yeah,
it's
and
just
me too.
not
I
my
don't
thing.
like them.
I don't get into it. I know a lot of people love them.
This is not Sailor Moon.
It's just not my bag, baby. Yeah.
This is not Sailor Moon.
So this is okay. Here's the magical girl trope. Mm-hmm. Now turn it on its head, because that's exactly what they did with this, and
I won't spoil it for you.
It's dark and disturbing, and I'm not going to say I love it, because that's not the truth. But it was an interesting watch, and I was able to get through the whole thing without going, oh my god, can we please turn this off?
I've seen it actually a couple of times. I didn't see the third movie because it doesn't exist.
That which shall not be named.
The reason why it doesn't exist is that the writer of the series was forced to come up with a script, and he did, because they wanted to make another movie. They wanted to make money, selling merchandise and stuff.
Being under contract.
And so he did. And then they said, no, write a different ending because we want to open-end this so we can do spin-offs. So under protest, he wrote a separate ending and wrote a note, put it on Twitter, apologizing for the ending, and then left it as that. So as a result, I'm not watching it because it basically undoes what was important about the original Madoka story. So it's sort of like it made it pointless. So that's why. Now, there are other people that like it and whatever, and God bless them. They're in the minority. Most people hate Rebellion. So, but anyway, but he is the one that wrote the screenplay to this. So, given the complexity of what he was able to do with Madoka, I'm interested in this now. He also did Kamen Rider Gaim.
No idea.
I have no idea. I don't follow the Kamen Rider series. So, it's the 30th film produced by Toho. Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a lot of Godzilla.
But yeah, Toho Animation and Polygon. This is actually one of 3.
Yeah, they've got a
trilogy coming up with this.
Godzilla cinema universe coming.
Yeah, so it comes out in the movie theater in Japan November 17th, which is not that far from now. And then it will be worldwide on Netflix in 2018, which is not that far from now. So, as a side note, Netflix is getting really busy with anime. And yeah, they're doing 30 for 2018. Now, some of them they've already announced. There's like a list online of some things that are already set up for that. And so, we'll see. We'll see. The thing that I don't like about Netflix stuff is for Netflix Japan and Netflix US works very, very differently. We're here, we would get the entire series all at once in a marathon binge section, that sort of thing. In Japan, no, they do weekly. So an example of that would have been Little Witch Academia. Did you see that?
Not yet, but I mean to.
Okay, have you seen the original OVAs from a couple of years ago?
Not yet, but I mean to.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All they did was create a series based on the first OVA. So there are 3 things that are actually 2 things that are listed before this series on Netflix. It was the original OVA, and then there was another movie after that, which is actually just fine. It was like a standalone thing, but the series that's now, I think it was 24 episodes. I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
It was 24 episodes, and it aired in Japan. Like, it just finished early, I think in the summer. But in Japan, they were airing the episodes week to week in Netflix. We had to wait 6 months to get the first 12. And then we just got the last 12 for the final 24. So there's a lot of people that are not happy with that. Either hold them all at once and do binge at once, but don't split countries like that. So some of us are going, yay, there's 30. Oh, God, it's going to be another year until we actually see certain series. So I don't know if they're going to just like have them all come out at once, or we have to wait the 6 months until the end of the year to see something that's airing in Japan. But I don't know. It is what it is. So, either way. Do you have anything to comment on the Netflix thing, or we can move on?
Yes, I think this might be a bit controversial to say, considering what some anti-tubers have been saying, but I think Netflix has the potential to have a more positive effect on the anime industry than Crunchyroll.
Oh, actually, 1,000% agreed. It may be controversial, but I agree. They actually pay the money.
Netflix is a bigger company. Mm-hmm. It's a more popular service. There is a larger potential audience compared to Crunchyroll, and they don't have a PR guy who's bad at PR. But I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. The other thing as well, like for example, there was actually a discussion online. I think it was A&N that did that article. I have to go find it. Where they were talking to producers in Japan, like different studio heads and whatever.
Oh yeah. That was A&M.
Yeah, and so they're sitting there going like, "Oh, so what do you think of Netflix and whatever?" And they're like, they're throwing money we've never seen, because in Japan the anime industry is very, very low on the totem pole when it comes to actual salary. I mean, some people make $10,000 a year. That's like way below the poverty line. So the idea that all of a sudden they'll go, all right, if you allow us to be in in the production part of this, we'll give you X millions of dollars for each series. And they'll just go, wait, that decimal point is moved way over. And they go, yes, please. So I agree with you. I mean, I don't like the distribution style, but I like what they've been doing. And I like the quality. And more importantly, they're treating them with respect. Like, they get paid. And the thing also with Netflix is almost everybody on this planet, well, a great number of people are on Netflix worldwide. They have a heck of a lot more access. I think Crunchyroll, it was last year or this year, where they finally celebrated their 100th, 1 million subscriber, like paid subscriber.
Yeah,
Netflix has how many just in the United States? Was it 94 million? Yeah.
It's a lot.
So everyone has a Netflix account, even if they don't get. And how many of them were they just got thrown? How many people ended up watching the Death Note movie? Sure, it was whatever, but there was still a discussion on it for much longer than the Ghost in the Shell movie, which was in the movie theater. Now, I'm sure if the Ghost in the Shell movie would go on Netflix, and then people would start talking about it because they finally got to see it. But they have a lot bigger footprint. I mean, especially for people like Don and I, we're cord cutters. We have a Netflix account. We've had a Netflix account for almost 10 years now. And so, actually, no, it has been 10 years. Yeah. It's been over 10 years now that we've had Netflix, and we haven't had cable in like 7 or 8. So I agree with you entirely, and sure, I know a lot of anime people talk, oh, it's just forcing people to pirate and whatever. I guess because I grew up in the era where it used to take us several years to get anime, I'll see it when I see it. Yeah. I'm not in this big hurry, and most of the people are complaining burn out in the year anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
The forcing to pirate thing is a logical fallacy. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make excuses for people. You're not being forced to do anything. You're choosing to pirate because you're impatient. Mm-hmm. That's the long and short of it. There are these things, they're called books. Try reading them. It's amazing how much time they can take up.
Yeah.
Be a little patient. If it's worth waiting for, then it's worth waiting for.
Mm-hmm. The jury's still out on strike. I won't pay for strike, even though I do have a Prime membership. But one important thing about stuff like that is that if there's a series that I end up liking, or if I search hard enough, they'll eventually come out in some form or another, or sometimes I just blind buy stuff. I'll support it by actually buying the physical release. So all of these things, usually when they open Netflix and whatever, they're licensed, in which case there's going to be some sort of distribution thing. I'll get a copy of it. So that's how I like it. I have an entire living room just of DVDs and stuff, and I have zero problems with that. So, anyway. Just one YouTube comment. Battlelight. If you're a fan of Space Battleship Yamato, have you ever tried watching Legend of Galactic Heroes? It's, a remake has been recently announced. I have not. Because it's a completely different type of story. I know it's the same guy that wrote it. But it's a completely different story.
Leiji Matsumoto, yeah.
Yeah, and so it just... Star Blazers for me was very different. That's Space Battleship Yamato. I don't know if it was a time and space thing, a certain part of my life, where all of a sudden I found something that I really liked and whatever. It's not like for example, I had watched Robotech, but I'm not a mech person per se. I saw the original Gundam. Yeah, one is the group that Yamada runs in Sasuke, and the other is a big mechanized robot. Gundam. So Gundam then. So the N and the M at the end. So. But it's just, I don't know, just because something is in a certain genre doesn't necessarily mean that I would actually like it. However, I have not watched much of it, and not any time recently, so I don't know if they're doing a remake and it's just as good as what they did with Star Blazers. I'll see it if it's readily available, and if it's not like another it's not as difficult as it is to find like Yamato is. I'll give it a try.
Yamato's not difficult to find. It's just difficult to afford normal.
They have no streaming.
Yeah, but that's not what I mean. You can buy it if you're loaded.
Yeah, but the idea of like if it's available streaming in whatever format, it's yeah. So anyway, William, we're back to watching Shirobako episodes 5 through 8. Your turn.
Okay. All right then, Shirobako. Yeah, it's pretty good so far. Yeah, I'm liking it.
You don't have to go into extreme detail. There are certain things that came up with in those 4 episodes that you saw.
Yeah, so the director gets locked in a closet and against his will, because he's being he hasn't finished the screenplay for the final episode, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of need that episode.
Yeah.
And at one point he has an existential crisis because he remembers how poorly Jiggly Jiggly Heaven went.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they had scenes of 2chan basically being like,
ripping it apart.
This show sucks.
As the animation is just literally melting.
Yeah, the least sexy women you've ever seen.
Yep.
So yeah. Meanwhile, the one of the animation guys who left.
Yep.
Caused a big debate between 2D and 3D animation and anime, and which is a debate that's definitely been going around.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting take. What's that guy's name?
Endo?
Taro?
Oh, Taro.
No, sorry,
yeah.
just Taro. Yeah, he doesn't make things better.
Nope.
Ever.
He leaves just a little bit of information, just enough to screw things up even worse. And
he doesn't know when to stop talking.
I do find it interesting that the director, remember the director of this series is him. So the fact that he went into extreme detail on how clueless he was, when you see it from that perspective, is like, wow, you really did play him as you must have been terrible because we really hate you.
Yeah. So at one point the director does a jail escape.
It ends up in the dubbing studio.
Complete with the dummy.
Yep.
Look like he's still there. At one point, Oi's sister comes to visit, and that happens.
The retake with Emma.
Yeah. One of her high school friends is also an animator on Exodus, and she basically has an existential crisis because she's having a hard time doing the keyframes for the scene that involves a cat, and it basically turns into a whole big thing about what do you want to do with your career and all that. Oi gets put in charge of episode 13 because the guy who was in charge of episode 13 is leaving for another animation studio.
That's called being sniped.
Yep. Yeah. Or headhunted, depending on your preference.
Yeah.
So that's, hey, first job. Hey, good job. Hey, congratulations. You're in charge of the final episode. Don't mess it up.
Yep.
I'm sure that's no pressure.
Yep.
At one point, Oi is kind of depressed while driving, and the GI staff guy shows up, and then the GI staff guy accidentally kills himself when he crashes his car.
He didn't kill himself.
I know, but he did crash his car. By the way, is that just the same exact line that he yells every single time he's
It's
yeah,
delivered differently, so it's not a cut and paste.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah.
Because I could have sworn it was a cut and paste. I'm like, did they just cut and paste? Because
if it wasn't for you darn kids,
yeah,
I would have gotten away with it. Foiled again.
Yeah, foiled from my car racing escapades.
I do find it funny because every single time, like, obviously there are some fantastical things in this series, but apparently this stuff happens.
Oh yeah, no,
so it's just funny. Obviously, they're just making. Obviously, any series, doesn't matter what it is on this planet, they will find an initial D.
Yeah, not the initial D reenactments through the streets of Tokyo, not so much, but the racing to try to get to the animation checkers. Yeah,
it's still funny though.
Yeah, so Emma eventually learns to be better with help from a different coworker who's basically like, hey, go in the archives and look at art and stuff, or look at an actual cat, and learn from that. Basically, build off of that stuff. Build off of what's already there.
Yeah, don't afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, that too. And then
Foley.
Other stuff happened. I'm sorry, what?
The Foley part. Do you know what Foley is? Foley is the name of the art of doing sound effects.
Oh.
Oh, wait. How far did you get? Hold on. No, you didn't. You didn't get that far.
8?
You got to episode 8.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't gotten to the Foley part. Okay, that's fine. We're good. I went too far.
Okay.
I went too far. We're good. We're good.
Yeah. So at one point, people make fun of the director again.
Yes. Well, yes, when they figure out that he jailbreaked.
Well, not only that he jailbreak, but also it's like, I don't know, like some things can't be helped, like with the guy leaving, and it's like, and they were like, is that why your ex-wife left?
Yep. He keeps bringing it up himself.
I know, he deserves it.
Do you not like him?
He is a child. and I like the fact that I don't like him.
He's basically a gigantic man-child.
Oh.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid?
No.
Okay. He's a director for that. Like, he is the director for that. So it's interesting when you go, that came from him? And it was a cute line where they were going like, actually, let me see if I've gotten that far. He might not have. Nope, it hasn't gotten there yet, so I'm not going to spoil that line. I'll do that the next time. So, it's just an interesting, take on that director style, and why anyone would have bothered working for him. So.
Yeah. So yeah. Basically, they're just trying to figure everything out. Oi's sister leaves, and
Yep.
It's been good overall. They got real at certain points when they're like, what do you want to do? With what kind of dreams you got?
Yeah.
And it's been nice to watch so far.
Cool. I thought if anything, I'm not sure if this is a series. Now, of course, I'm a serial marathoner, so I will watch things that I like over and over and over and over again. I think in a lot of ways, this series is really good for creative people, because you start asking all of those questions and whatever, and everybody goes through writer's blocks or creative blocks or that sort of thing when you're doing any kind of project. So even if this is just animation, there are so many things that you can apply to the lessons that they're trying to teach throughout this entire thing. So, but yeah, I'm happy at least you're still enjoying going through it. We're okay to switch?
Yeah. So I don't remember which episodes you watched. More specifically, the skits that were in the episodes that you watched.
Okay.
But,
so in
how'd you?
In the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I waited until last night to watch this Because Don and I have come to the conclusion we are not the demographic for this show.
It has moments.
It has moments where it busted out
hysterical.
laughing.
Like most sketch comedy.
Yeah.
It's very hit or miss. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's a really big hit. For me, a lot of it, it's a pretty big mess.
Yeah. So, and it's really weird because we're into a lot of British humor, which is like multi-layered, very dry. I've seen a lot of sketch comedy over the years. I mean, just that kind of stuff I grew up on. I mean, Carol Burnett and it just all those types of things I liked. I think it's the content or the culture things that it's not that I'm missing it. It's just I don't find some particular things funny. But anyway, I'm finally got to 3.5, which is the replacement for episode 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's
so
correct.
What I covered was 3.5 through 6.
Okay.
So yeah. So the entire Wait. Okay, so it starts off with hold on, let me now switch
starts
to
with
the
matzo juice. Right. Which that was a really long setup for that gag, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah. But yeah, with the high school Fujoshi bait, it was actually funny because as I'm seeing this, I'm going, this is everything that's on television right now. And for the record, I'm not a Fujo. Fujoshi is basically, I think the actual translation for the word is rotten girl. Which is basically girls that like seeing boys kiss each other. I'm not one of those. The things like Free and Yuri on Ice, those are not my things. But that's very big right now. And so when I saw the brothers turn into that, I could not stop laughing because I thought the whole thing was hilarious. It had almost the beginning part reminded me of Ouran High School Host Club. And I actually wrote that down. I did find it funny with the what turned into basically an idol contest.
Oh God!
So
the three girls with the nosebleeds when they rip their shirts off was hysterical.
And it's just exploding with the nosebleeds, and they all pass out. That was really funny. And then they went into Virgin Heroes. That was a stark contrast because I thought they were gonna play the F6 joke all the way through the episode, and all of a sudden they went into the chibi versions of themselves. Like in the same episode.
Yeah.
It was a little stark. So if that was supposed to be the replacement of episode 1, I don't think that worked well as a replacement for episode 1 unless they knew that everybody knows that there's original episode 1.
Replacement, it's not in the sense that like you watch it instead of episode 1.
Okay.
It's more like we legally cannot put episode 1 on the DVD. So we made an extra episode to put on the DVD.
Okay, because it seemed really off. The Cherry Brothers?
That was painful.
The Normie Eater transformed with a naked kid in a chastity belt made of chains. And
yeah, I forget which brother it was, but he first turns into this monster they call the Normie Eater, which is like this big slug with his face.
Yeah, with the zipper in the back because he's literally kaiju.
Then from there, he transforms into the, what was it, the god of, well, basically Dote, I mean, the virgin god. Mm-hmm. He's got a chastity belt with chains all around it.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part of that whole episode.
Yeah, all the way to the end.
That whole skit, but...
And they got all the way to the whole thing was because they were terrified to talk to girls in a barbecue, even though they were invited. And then so each of them were like, "No, you're not supposed to." It had some moments in it. I think it was a little too long. Episode 4 had what seemed at the time as a random skit that had to do with. What do you call those things where you go to this like a really, really fancy restaurant where they have the serving tray and then they have that huge big silver lid?
Like a chafing dish cover or something along those lines.
Is that what it is? So you have the big bucktooth guy.
Iyami.
Iyami.
Yeah.
Iyami.
You have Iyami and then the other guy. And so they're basically playing it makes it look as if they're trying to work his skit, because his skit is sheesh.
Yeah, Iyami is having a reaction to different size piles of poo.
Yes.
That change every time he lifts the dish cover off.
Right.
So he does his yeah,
he says sheesh.
She, whatever it is. Yeah,
Shit.
that's it.
And then our version is a
Shit.
he does his pratfall, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the opening of the episode, and you're like, what is...
Yeah, it has
okay,
nothing to do with anything else, and then all of a sudden it turns into the parents divorcing, and then that part was funny. That part was funny where all of a sudden they decide, well, because the kids are neat, so they're now adult children. They don't want to leave the house. They don't work. They don't contribute anything. The parents have a big, huge fight, and they're now going to decide who's going to live with mom and who's going to live with dad. Well, apparently no one wants to live with dad, so they're doing everything possible to try to win the affections of mom. And then all of a sudden, it turns into, all right, screw it, I'm going to decide this. And she makes a chart going, all right, you're going to have to convince me. And so it's this really cutthroat setup where they're trying everything possible to try to woo their mom. And then so she goes, okay, you're staying. And then somebody fails badly. It's like, nope, you're on reserve. They're like, oh, that's cruel. And that goes on. And then finally they can't decide. And they ended up doing... a public auction?
No, it was a draft.
A draft. Yeah. And then finally it's like, no, we don't want this. So finally the second half of this was, what was it? Oh, no. This is the whole thing at the end was a setup for Sheesh. What was the whole, how did they end up?
It was the idol thing with Totoko.
Takoto.
Yes, that's
Toko.
where it was. That was... weird. Well, again, I'm not into the idol thing, so I did find the joke where each guy was going in the room thinking that he was the only one, only to find out that she invited absolutely everybody to announce that she was going to be an idol person. So then she finally becomes an idol. She's going on screen on stage. She starts to sing, and then all of a sudden you have Inami turning around and going, "Sheesh." Iyami?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I forget that. And the whole point is that she's a big pile of poo.
Yeah.
So that entire freaking episode was to quantify why she was poo. So I did appreciate that. It, again, very, very long setup for that one joke. 5 was the Odin shop.
Yes.
Yes. Was a wordplay. Now I can't read my own wordplay phone. Oh, at the
I mean,
I'm trying to remember what that was. What I wrote down. I liked the Odin shop thing was actually pretty sad. So they all basically, as usual, they all eat drunk. And they don't pay their bill. In fact, they all left 1 yen, which is less than a cent. It's like 1/10 of a cent. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. So finally, the Odin shop owner decides to get...
Shibita.
Yeah, he gets really, really, really upset and decides to take one of them hostage, puts him out in the middle of the ocean, waiting for high tide, and tells his family, if you want to see him alive, y'all gonna have to come over here and pay the bill. Only to find out that they really don't care about their brother. And so it's this whole big thing where, at first it's like, okay, no, it's a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's no, it's a joke. No, actually, it is for real. And then finally mom comes in with, what was it that they ended up?
Pears?
Sliced pears. And he hears that and is like, I'm so sorry. So he decides that he wants to try something different. And Chibita, instead, he brings him back. Don't you want to save your brother? and this is what he's in now, tied to a pole, and there's fire underneath him.
He's got him tied to the stake with a bonfire going right in front of the family home.
And so they open the window, and as opposed to, screaming help or anything like that, they throw things and knock his brother out. And they close the window and then ignore him again. So the guy ends up like, I'm so sorry. So he just unties him, and that's the end of the episode. Yeah. The part with the ESP cat, which was the next skit, was actually pretty cute. I like that one. Where I didn't like how he got the ESP powers, because that was extremely... We can ignore that because I don't want to get demonetized. They end up injecting a truth serum onto the cat because the cat tries to save his owner. And so the byproduct of having ESP is that he can actually tell you what you're actually thinking. So if you're saying something and you're lying about it, he'll actually tell you what you're actually thinking. So it's this whole big thing where all of a sudden everybody doesn't like the cat. Who's the owner?
That would be
No,
Ichimatsu.
And so he gets upset that the cat saw right through him, or basically more embarrassed because the brother is terrified of making friends, so he just stays by himself and that sort of thing. And so finally they try to find the cat because the cat runs away, and so it's a cute thing at the end, and it's just like, I'm so sorry, and then he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry too. It was cute. I liked it. Do we get to see more of the cat later?
A little bit.
Does he still talk?
Until he stops talking, yeah.
Okay.
It's not very prominent. Post.
But I like the cat. Yeah. Does the cat have a name?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember.
Red shirt. Okay, so he's probably gonna die. So don't spoil me on that.
No,
okay.
no. He stays around.
It's just he's not a guy.
I mean, oddly enough, they actually do address this episode in a later date, and they just say, "Oh yeah, the truth serum wore out." So.
Okay. So yeah. Episode 6, which was the last one that we saw. Okay, now I have to remember. Hatobu. So they end up getting a weird, just basically what's the phrase? They can't understand it. Illegible invitation to a birthday party, but they smelled it, so like, oh, it had to have come from this one dirty kid. Wait, how old is he now? I guess he did grow up. And then all of a sudden, not only did he grow up, he's a freaking gajillionaire. But it's like Children of the Corn or Stepford Wives, where everybody has this, they literally have a flag attached to them, and it's really weird. And I did crack up at the fact that they were talking to Obama, that he was talking to Obama, and he gave what was it, $500 million on hot dogs. They told them to save the economy to sell hot dogs, I think, or something like that. It was just so weird, and it's just like, it was weird. It was really weird. It was weird. That one, I Don's just shaking his head. It's just like, yeah, we didn't like this episode very much. What was the second half of this one? A horse race.
Yami's.
Oh, that was the
Yami chips.
Yes, with the tooth.
Yeah.
That was a really, really disturbing ending. Because I don't like that what was that, the black factory?
Mm-hmm.
From like the second episode, I think it was, second or third episode. Yeah, that was really disturbed. Like, that got dark. The whole point of that one was after like this horse racing binge thing, which I thought was hilarious, he realizes that his teeth are a rare metal. That was funny with the microscope thing where they were looking at the exotic metals, and you just had a whole bunch of his little face smiling. Iyami. I have to get used to his name. So I'm looking at the wiki. And so he starts chipping away at it to the point where he has like one tooth left. And then finally at the end he screws it up because he was supposed to get basically lived a rich life in France for the last tooth, and he ends up losing the tooth. And who was the one that showed up to finally actually hit him over the head and found out that if you bonk him over the head, his teeth actually end up coming out? So it was like a dispenser. And then I forget who was the one. Was that Osomatsu?
Yeah, I believe it was Osomatsu, because he's the gambler, so he would be the one around Iyami for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then so the dark turn is where they end up putting him in the black factory, and to just keep bonking his head, ripping his teeth out, bonking his head, ripping his teeth out, and they basically made a factory off of the rare metal deposit that are in his teeth by... That was disturbing. That was like, okay, I think we're done watching episodes for now. I'm like, did we get 4? Yeah, we got 4, and we stopped. Okay, so those are my 4 episodes of Osomatsu. I have to admit, it's a chore watching now. My favorite episode is the one that can't be aired, which is really odd because it's not as if I expected all of that to be that way, because it's not that I'm enamored with the older versions of themselves. I just thought that was written better. Just like it I think in a lot of ways to try to keep from the copyright and stuff. I mean, I guess that's what I was looking for. I was looking more for the actual gag comedy stuff, making fun of the current state of things. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that they're referring to that are directly Japanese, and that's probably what I'm missing. I don't know. That's the only thing that I can think of. But this is a rough watch. So I'm like, okay, we gotta watch 4 of them. Yeah. And again, there's some funny moments, but it's just like, I don't think... Let's just say, if I ended up watching the first 2-3 episodes, I would have dropped it. So that's... Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll watch the rest of it.
Okay.
It's just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say this. There's no more factory.
Okay, good.
There's no more factory. The next set of episodes, if you're looking for more gag stuff, I think you're gonna get more gag stuff. You're gonna get some. I'm just kind of looking at the episodes now. You're gonna get, I think, your first example of like the skit comedy that they do, where the characters are just literally playing other characters and it has nothing to do with the rest of the story. And then you'll get a variety of stuff, but I think because the next 4 means that your last one will be episode 10. Episode 10 is one of my
all-time favorites.
I would say episode 10 is my second favorite. Okay.
Like I said, we're gonna watch the gags, all of them.
Yeah, they do episode 10 strong. So hopefully you'll at least like episode 10 for what they do.
But so far, episode 1, the episode that should not be named, is still by far my number 1. I thought, in a lot of ways, I wish more people got to see it because it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious, especially knowing where this original series came from. So seeing them trying desperately, going, oh, we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with the stuff of today, and then poking fun at the stuff of today, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't like at the stuff of today. And the fact that they just shamelessly ripped it to shreds was really funny. I mean, again, it's the funny commentary of the stuff that I know, and I think that's probably what I'm big. And at the same time, I don't like rude humor. Like, I don't like American Pie. I don't like, what's the this, a lot of the Jim Carrey movies, and was it Dumb and Dumber? I can't watch that type of humor. It's a little too rude for me. I don't know. I guess I'm turning into a prude in my old age. So, but I like the smarter humor. There's an exorbitant amount of butt jokes, and a lot of them. Well, again, I don't like Shinchan, and that's all butt jokes. It's the naughty little boy showing his behind. So I am still curious as to why this is such a raging hit, and not just with the older generation that grew up with it. Everybody loves this in Japan. I mean, this is literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's making a lot of money. I will say, okay, I'm gonna let you in a little interesting tidbit. So I told you before that, like, the female demographic really latched onto the show. Believe it or not, the F6 versions are not the most popular versions amongst female viewers.
I can see why not. I agree. I don't.
They actually the normal versions are the versions that the women seem to like more.
Probably because those are actual personality traits.
But I mean, like, in that way.
No. What I mean, like, for example, each of them, although they look very similar to each other, have individual characters. Like, you can tell which one apart immediately. And not even certain, even anime now, most of them are pretty one-dimensional. So the idea that each of them have distinct personalities, they all speak in Hone. I remember the conversation I was telling you about tatamae in Hone, but the type of conversation that you would have with your coworkers, or like, the wording that you always have, like, not even just polite, but telling you things you want to hear, which is almost all of Japanese culture. Like, they never tell you what they're actually thinking. And then Hone is blunt, how you talk to your friends, like, really sometimes even painfully honest. That's all they speak. So the idea that an entire series is blunt and there's nothing sugar-coated, no matter what, any kind of humor or even just satire, that's probably what's attracting them. Because no man in Japan speaks this way. They don't. Because they always have to be with that face, that facade. And so the idea that these kids have, well, they're not kids, but, these guys are all exactly how you see them is probably intriguing, if anything.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see what you think of the next batch of episodes.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, I think this is all for this month. Where are we? Yeah, I think we did catch up. So either way, so the next ones you're gonna be doing is 8 through 12, and I'm doing
9 through 12.
9 through 12. Sorry, and I'm doing 8 through 11. No, 7 through 10. 7 through 10. I can't do math because I did 6. Yeah,
yes.
I'm sure it's if I end up running out where all of a sudden I have to do more than I have, because it was a little screwy in the beginning to figure out how many episodes I actually watched. Yeah. So we'll make it happen where I have it fit. Luckily with mine, I'm not running into arcs, like running into like yours would. No, that's why I was looking at it. It's like, how many are you watching? I'm like, hang on a second, let me look at no that arc, because then the next one's gonna start all the way to the end of the Exodus series. So it's split into 2 cowers, and the first cower is Exodus, which is an original, which is the whole point of him trying to come up with the ending, because it's his original story. and then the second half is him adapting a manga or light novel.
I think it was a manga.
Yeah, I think it was a manga too. So it shows that part of it where it's not him having to worry about, coming up with different stories, because he's just adapting an actual story, which is his own set of unique challenges, which I thought was interesting, because I thought it was just going to be, it's just going to be another one. It's completely different than the second time around. So I'm looking forward to just you seeing the whole thing. So I'm happy at least that you're enjoying that. So yay! So anyway, if you guys want to contact us, if you're even watching any of these series, if there are other series that you guys are watching that you want us to at least mention, discuss what you're looking into, going into this new season, stuff you like in the past, just let us know. My Twitter and YouTube are the same. They're Arsenette, ARSENETTE. My website is ramblingrican.com, and I'm also Rambling Rican on Instagram. William, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at 2D2Will, and follow my video escapades on youtube.com/222 Productions. That's the number 2 3 times, followed by the word Productions. It's turning 10 years old in November.
I think I'm a year behind you.
Yay.
Yeah, I think I was 2008.
Yeah.
And you, Dom?
You can find me at Domnal on Twitter, DOMNHAL.
Cool. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you sometime next month.
Take care.
Bye-bye.